news had came out of Tampa earlier in the week about two things. First off, Brady went on a radio show earlier in the week, said the one thing he gets away with is trash talking. He never got an unsportsmanlike penalty. Well, he got one against the Rams. Now, I'm not saying you got to do this because he's the face of the NFL. I'm not trying to say that. I'm saying this. When you have a guy who can't really move, and he's been a multiple-time champion, or any player in the league, you have to understand that if someone is running around the corner and jumps into it, and I'm gonna get my jaw just get anyways between my throat and my head just pushed back to the point I'm bleeding, yes, I'd be mad too. Because that's what Tom Brady was saying. He actually talked about it. He said, well, what happened, I threw the ball, it was incomplete. I can accept that. Von Miller jumped into me and hit me in the head or neck area, which is what I was trying to point to. Hey, he hit me in the head or neck area. I was not saying it was roughing the passer. He hit me in the head or neck area. So I turned, and this is his words, I turned to the official and said, you're not going to call that? Like, look, I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding everywhere. And the referee was Sean Payton, which we'll get to in a minute. But Sean Payton decides to throw the flag up in the air and call an unsportsmanlike penalty on Brady, which is the first time in his career that he's been called. He's been in the NFL for 22 years. And then the play after, when when Fournette makes a one-handed grab to get the first down, Brady's still talking to Hockley, who's like, look, I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding everywhere. Now, there's two things I want to talk about in this situation. Number one, let's talk about the taunting penalties. The unsportsmanlike conduct is really what they're trying to nail it as. To me, it's an aggressive sport. I understand. It's an aggressive sport. You're going to have people do this. All the great players in history have been trash talkers. Okay? They've always been trash talkers. Ray Lewis, Deion Sanders, John Randall, Mean Joe Green. They always trash talked. That's what they did. And now you're saying that's illegal. But it's getting to the point that it's even sometimes not a trash talk, it's just a look. Or trying to stare them down and it's a penalty. It makes no sense. To me, they gotta fix this rule. I understand you don't want to end the game because you don't want younger kids to do that. But at the end of the day, it's an aggressive sport. We're putting our lives at risk doing this. We should be given this much leeway, which is what they're asking for. And I'm hoping that when we have the committee meeting for the NFL or from the Players Committee, that they talk about this. This doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. The players just want fairness. Let's create fairness. Now, on to that point, Sean Payton. Why is he calling and officiating a playoff game? Jerome Boger, the NFL did the right thing. They said, Jerome Boger, you're not going to officiate an NFL playoff game the rest of the year. That's the right move. That's the right move. Why allow Sean Payton to, though? It makes no sense, because his crew, and I don't care if it's like, oh, we're running out of guys, we're doing this, we're doing that. He's been part of the two worst officiated games of the season and probably of the history of the NFL. When the Cowboys went against the Raiders, and then when, in a few weeks before that, you can't call, a week before that between the Packers and the Minnesota Vikings, you can't call those things. And I said, let them play. Just let them perform and do their thing. Very simple. I don't know why Sean Hockley's calling a game. If you're going to have Jerome Boga not call a game, have Sean Hockley not call a game. But on top of that, also have Correnti not call a game, a playoff game either. Those three guys are what's really going to cause issues in the NFL. They are. You can say we're the better officials. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. If you've had a bad year, you should not be calling it an NFL playoff game. I don't think it'd be like you don't reward people for making mistakes. You don't. You reward the people that actually do their job. That's how this should happen. As I had said in a past video, that it said, according to reports, Josh McCown was the favorite. But with the Bucs had activated Leonard Fournette from IR, it didn't help a whole lot. But in a surprising move, the Steelers' defensive coordinator, Keith Butler, announces his retirement. This was a surprising move, an unpredictable move. This actually happened on Saturday, and I was like, just trying to wrap my brain around it. Like, the defense was really good. I mean, T.J. Watt has been really good, and T.J. Watt has been really good under Keith Butler. So now you gotta find another defense coordinator. I mean, I guess Tomlin can do it, but I don't think he really wants to. But it's on the move if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers looking for a defensive coordinator. I put this down. What happened to the Packers in 2022? And their Achilles heel. Well, their Achilles heel is their special teams. They're not really good on special teams. They struggled all year with blocked punts, short punts, missed field goals, missed extra points. They struggled on all that. Good teams don't lose games on special teams. They don't. You got to win every facet of the field. Offense, defense, and special teams. The Packers were terrible at special teams. They were great at all other facets, but they were not good on special teams. That's their Achilles heel. But for the Packers, and everyone's like, well, it's the Rodgers situation and this and that. No. I really think it's the play calling that's a problem. Because if I'm throwing in windy, snowy weather, and the ball can't get as far, it gets too far away from me, plays that I hit in September and October are not going to hit in January and February. That's just not how it works. And if I'm the Packers, you have to get that through your head. Because if Aaron Rodgers does leave, it's going to be because they can't win in January. That's a problem that they have to fix if you're the Green Bay Packers. Here's a Packer linebacker quote. He said, I believe it was Campbell, the one-year acquisition. He said, when it's cold and you can't feel your feet, your fingers and your toes, then wonder who wants to play football. Well, it looked like the Green Bay Packers, for a majority of the game, did not want to play football. The problem with the Titans, and is Tannehill on the way out? The problem with the Titans is Ryan Tannehill. It is Ryan Tannehill. The defense was really good. They got 9 sacks. For the first time since Donovan McNabb did a team that had 8+ sacks win a game in the playoffs. The Titans had 9. Yet, Ryan Tannehill turned the ball over. Those things can't happen. So to me, Tannehill's the problem. Do you move off of him? I don't know if you move off of him, but I know this. You got to make a decision sooner rather than later of, is he the guy, and is there any valuable options otherwise? How come Eric Weddle's penalty, 15-yard penalty, did not affect the Rams? According to the rule book, and this is the one call that John Hockley might have made correctly, there was one, and then there was another, the delayed game that Jason Pierre-Paul was like, look, just look. According to the rule book, if the ball touches the ground before the penalty occurs, it's a dead ball foul. Okay. We're talking like a foot. Maybe not even a foot, like 5 inches. If the ball does not touch the ground, but it's still in the air, the Bucks would have gotten the ball. My opinion, that's the right call. But to me, I think they were trying, they gave, and I say this, I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's happened a few times where the refs have given a lot more to one team, penalty-wise, and not as much to the other team. And I think that's what happened in the Rams-Bucks game. Now, I will talk about this because this is important. Bills' defense collapsed. They're the first-ranked defense, is what they kept trying to say. First-ranked defense, first-ranked defense. I don't care what happened. If you're the Bills, you cannot allow, and we'll talk about this in our game, you cannot allow the Chiefs to go down the field in so many seconds, and so many seconds, and so many seconds. You can't allow that to happen. That's how you're going to lose games. That's what happened, as we'll say it in our game recap and predictions video.